Hi, everyone. This is Pastor Hannah with the City Church, and I am here with Dr.gajjer today. Dr. Gajjer is a pediatrician at Lone Star Circle of Care, and we love and trust Dr. Gajjer so much. She actually sees Pastor Ross and I's children. All of you know Oliver and Fin. So we love her so much. She's seen them their whole life, which isn't that long yet, but we're excited for you to be here today. Dr. Gajjer is going to talk to us a little bit about COVID-19 and coronavirus and how we as family members and parents can help flatten the curve or whatever we can do, not only to entertain our kids, but just to be safe. So Dr. Gajjer, I have some questions for you. So first of all, we'll kick off with what is your advice to parents as the communities are starting to open up and now we're seeing the rise? So what do you recommend?
So, I think the most important thing we can do with the time and the situation we are in is to kind of slow it down. I think it's, pretty obvious that this is going to continue. It's not going to end anytime soon. But there's few, I would say, basic general rules that kind of will keep on popping up, I'm sure, as we go on with this interview. One is to avoid close contact with people who are sick. If you're sick, you should probably stay home and not be out in the public and seek medical care. Everyone who's 2 years and older should be wearing a cloth mask when you're out and about. As always, if you're coughing and sneezing, to cover your nose and mouth, not use your hands, but do the vampire, thing that everyone has been taught in preschools. If you use a tissue, to make sure you throw that tissue out and not reuse it, and always sanitize your hands afterwards. Hand sanitizers are great, but more effective than hand sanitizers is old school water and soap. When you do use water and soap, you have to really rub and get in between all the nooks and crevices in your hands and both sides for 20 seconds. With my kids, I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. What I usually do is have them sing happy birthday twice or the ABCDs twice, and that's usually a good amount of time. If you're going to go to the bathroom, same thing. If you're going to eat, anytime you're about to do something that is going to kind of get into this area of your face, eyes, nose, and hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. If soap and water is not available, for example, you're out shopping, you're pumping gas, the next best thing is going to be hand sanitizer. Just make sure it is at least 60% alcohol. Anything less than that is really not going to be as effective. If your hands are visibly dirty, please use soap and water. Again, if you can't have that, at least use hand sanitizers until you can get to a sink with soap and water. Any areas in your homes or work or offices where, it's frequently touched, you want to clean and disinfect. Hannah, as you and Ross know, I'm not huge on antibacterials and all that kind of stuff. That's always something that we've always talked about. However, this time is a little bit different. We're in a different place in the world dealing with, something that nobody's really used to. And the best way to protect ourselves is to clean and disinfect. Tables, countertops, light switches, doorknobs, door handles, cabinet handles. And the last thing I would probably suggest is laundry items such as, not your regular, linens and clothes and stuff like that, but for kids, if you have plush toys, their loveys, all that kind of stuff, to really wash, according to the labels, but as hot as possible water, and then dry as well too in hot temperatures. If you are with somebody who is sick, it's okay to mix the laundry and to wash it. You don't have to separate somebody's laundry, somebody who's ill from a person who's healthy.
That's good to know. A lot of those things I hadn't heard before. So that's really interesting. So what about like if you have older kids, if you don't have kids that are young with loveys and you have teenagers and they're like, I'm done, I'm over the shelter in place and they want to go to their friends' houses, they want to go out to the mall or whatever. What do you recommend for best practices?
So social distancing is still very simple. May not be easy to do with humans being social creatures, but it is really important to slow down the spread of this virus. When school is out, it is really important to try and not to have in-person play dates or have two households mix. Now, if you want to kind of have a get-together in the backyard where you can kind of have, you know, two little cocoons of families and people are social distancing, wearing cloth masks, that might be acceptable. But honestly, to try to minimize as much contact as possible with anyone outside of your own household is probably what's recommended. And if you are getting together, then I would probably recommend to at least have 6 feet between you guys, and then also wear a mask as well too. Remember, everyone over the age of 2 should be wearing a mask.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to ask you. So, so it's over 2 and including 2-year-olds, 2 and over.
Yes.
Wearing some. Is there a certain type of mask, especially for little ones, or?
So cloth masks are fine. Masks are not really protecting you; it's protecting everyone else. You know, it also, when you have a mask on physically, there's a barrier. I know it's harder with toddlers; they're going to get their hands into everything, which is also why the other part of keeping safe is going to be sanitizing, washing hands with, you know, soap and water. But yes, 2 and above is what's recommended.
Okay, great. So talking about, you know, 2-year-olds and small children, what do you recommend? How can we keep these kiddos occupied? Like, obviously we can't keep them in all days, and we're not doing play dates in a perfect world. So what are some fun things that we can do to help our kids?
So playscapes are not recommended. The big problem with playscapes is you have a ton of kids. It's really hard to sanitize and keep them clean. So it's not something that we are recommending at this time. And honestly, it's, you know, it's kind of, if you look at it this way, you know, we have all of these things that were going on in our lives prior to coronavirus. We had play dates and we had activities and this and that and whatever. And everything has been kind of trimmed down. And things I feel that are very basic is kind of what we're going back to. Children learn best through everyday moments. Let them have the space to be creative problem solvers. When you take yourself out of the equation, they learn to be more self-sufficient. And these are really important skills for critical thinking that will empower them to be better problem solvers. It's also important for kids to be resilient and flexible. I don't think there should be a time where the kids are expecting to have their parents' 100% attention. It's a good time to teach them about, or I guess help them learn to cope with disappointment and frustration and to be flexible. Yes, kids do good, or I guess I should say do better with structure and routines. But flexibility, even outside the times of COVID and Corona, is really important. If plans don't work out, you want to pivot. If it rains, if you're going to have a picnic outside, maybe move the picnic into the garage or do a tailgate. You know, I've done that with my kids. We've gone to the park and then it starts raining or it's just too hot. I'll open up the trunk of the car. If you have an SUV, put a picnic blanket down, and they actually have a great time doing that. It's also important as parents for kids to see that we are adaptable, that when things don't work out the way we planned, we are able to kind of pull ourselves back together and deal and handle with the frustration and disappointment. This is a really crucial part of child development. You know, it's how you learn. It's how you're going to help build resiliency, flexibility. And quite honestly, we don't know how long this is going to last. And it will help all of us, not only the kids, to be resilient and flexible. Things you can do, nature, it's free, it's all around us. If you have a baby, bring the baby out with you. Let them get into the mud and play in the mud. You know, you can give them simple things. I took my kids to the park a couple of weeks ago, and it was day after it rained really hard, so there were still some mud puddles. They had an empty water bottle that they finished, and they filled it up with mud, and they started playing. I would probably recommend to have some wipes or something like that in the car, so you're not tracking all that mud back into your car. But just letting them get out, you know, having them collect, having leaves, sticks, you know, building structures with it. If you have Play-Doh, taking like the leaves or the sticks and kind of making impressions on it. It's readily available. So take advantage of the healing power of nature. Go to your backyard, go for a walk, use the amazing trails we have here in Austin. Of course, remember to follow public health guidance, stay 6 feet away from other people, wear a mask if you're going to be closer in an area where, you know, you can't really maintain 6 feet. And then when you get back home, get back into your car, use hand sanitizers, or wash your hands with water and soap.
I love that. We are big outside people too. Oliver always wants to go outside. And so we take our morning walks. We try to put them outside as much as possible. Now, talking about that, you know, we live in Lakeway in the Lake Travis area. What about being on the water? What about being on the boat or jet skis? Like, what are the recommendations with that kind of outdoor play?
So it's the same thing. You know, it goes back to being able to maintain social distance, being able to, you know, stay away from other people that are not part of your family. If you're going to be doing your own, you know, boating and stuff like that, I think that is fine. If you have your own boat, that's fine. You can disinfect it. If you're, you know, renting out a boat for the day, you know, make sure you're wiping down stuff that's commonly touched. You know, they should be disinfecting, but you just never know, just to be kind of safe. If you're going to be, you know, boating with another family and it's hard to maintain that 6 feet, especially if it's a smaller boat, wear your mask. So mask, social distancing, washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If that's not possible, to use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol is what I would recommend. If anyone is sick, make sure you know, stay home and not be around other people.
So on that same pattern of thinking of it's summertime, what about summer travel? Whether it's, you know, people want to go down to the beach or the coast for a little bit or go see family, even if it's just domestic travel, what are the recommendations right now for summer travel plans?
So COVID-19 cases and deaths have been reported in all 50 states. Initially, we had few states that were hotspots. It seems like they have been settling down, and there are new states that are now popping up, Texas being one of them. Things are constantly changing. It's really important to kind of get the most up-to-date news. It changes day to day. Sometimes, you know, what the CDC was telling us at the beginning of the day is very different from what we're hearing in the afternoon. So it's important to kind of keep track of that. Also keeping in mind that travel increases your chances of getting infected and spreading. Stay away, you know, if you can, from traveling. If you can't, you know, if you're traveling in your own car, that's fine. If you're stopping at restrooms and, you know, I don't know, renting out a beach house or something like that for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, it's the same thing. Sanitize when you get in, you know, have your wipes or whatever, the spray bottles, and to do the handles, commonly touched surfaces. Make sure you know, keep your hands nice and clean. And if you can't keep distance, like for example, if you have to stop at, you know, a gas station for gas and you go into the little shops that they have there, wear a mask if you can.
So where do you see us going from here? I mean, at first the predictions were kind of like, well, maybe it'll slow down in the heat, but like you mentioned, even in Texas and Austin, like we're seeing a spike in cases. So do you have any projections? Do you have any foresight of when we can expect some type of normalcy?
I think that's a big question. Everybody has. We just don't know. We honestly really don't know. I guess we were hoping that weather and temperature would kind of help. As we know, it has not. There are certain viruses like the common cold and flu that spread more easily during the cold winter months, but that doesn't mean that you can't get these viruses in the warmer months. There's still a lot more to learn about transmissibility, severity, and other features associated with COVID-19, and they're investigating. The investigations are ongoing.
Man, these are all such great resources. I mean, I think we touched on all of the major questions that we had, and your tips and your expertise is just so appreciated. And I know that our community appreciates you and your insight. And I know Pastor Ross and I, we're always like, well, just ask Dr. Gajjer. We'll just ask her. When in doubt, we're like, we'll just ask her. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and out of your patient schedule to spend some time and be with us and give us some tools as we continue to fight this COVID-19 craziness.
Well, thank you for allowing myself and Lone Star Circle of Care to see your kids and to also, give us this chance to speak with your congregation. I guess just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Before we kind of end, I just wanted to kind of, put out there once more, social distancing, stay 6 feet away, wear your masks when you're out in public. It is really important to do so. And hand washing. If you're sick, stay at home. 4 things I would hopefully like everyone to take away from this little talk that we had today.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much. And we will definitely continue to follow those guidelines and the recommendation. And we appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Hannah.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.